A scene like you don't normally see. If you're a dirt fan who watches the Chili Bowl in Tulsa, Oklahoma every year, you might be a fan of Piggz Speed Dome taking the pavement indoors up here in Calgary, Canada. This is the Piggz 250 for NFRN Amateur Cup Series Racing. Hello again everybody, my name is Colin Denton on the call today for RVN in this 6th of 12 regular season races for the NFRN Amateur Cup Series. This is the halfway point of the season and it's time for drivers to make their mark. 5 different winners so far, 5 walking themselves into the playoffs. Who's going to be the next to do that? We are going to see today on this short track. We've had the short track at Grand Detour. We saw John Gilbert win there. Those guys could provide a glimpse into what we could see for today's race in terms of who can be competitive. But this track is a whole different monster compared to that track. A little bit shorter, indoors, a lot of different action that we could see as we saw in the practice sessions. A few different accidents, pretty big ones as well, that could transfer over into the race. As previously mentioned, we are up in Calgary, Canada. Our first international race for the Amateur Cup Series, the final series to make an international appearance, this time up in Canada. Just the second race up in Canada after Riki. Calgary, population of over 1.25 million, third largest city in Canada, 140 miles from the US border and 50 from the Canadian Rockies. It's the first Canadian city to host the Winter Olympics in 1988, and it's also the hometown of the former NASCAR driver Trevor Boyes. We go to the part-timer race to see who's going to qualify. Clint McComb has the points lead in the truck series, gets the early jump. Josh McCrow is on the outside, but he quickly falls back as that outside line is not forgiving to anyone on the racetrack. And a late push by Billy Thompson in that 2 car on the inside of Barry Watson, who's made every race so far this season. He's not going to make the race today, as we see Clint McComb pull out to a wide lead and come around and take the checkered flag. The bigger story probably is that the 78 of Barry Watson not going to make the race for the first time this season. We take a look at the results from this one. McComb, Kevin Knight, Hunter Cox, Taylor Piggz, James Smith, and Billy Thompson all making the race. A few of those guys making their first starts of the season in the series. I believe that's McComb, Taylor Piggz, and Billy Thompson. We'll see these final 4. Josh McCoy drops all the way back to 14th place. A very disappointing run for the second place in Truck Series points. And we also take a look at our hot seat driver of the week. We forgot to give this driver credit for his stats last week. Fortunately, we did get his on board, and we'll get to see it again this week. Chris Harley, the second week in a row, he'll be on the hot seat with his win at Piggz Cliff and runner-up at Grand Detour, the current points leader. Didn't have a great day at April last time, but still has the most points accumulated over the past 4 weeks, so he'll have his helmet cam on as he starts from the 11th starting spot. See what he can do to move his way up. But it is now command time. Let's head it down trackside and get the famous words.
Race fans, it is time for those most famous words in motorsports. Here to give the command to start the engines, please welcome today's Grand Marshal, President and CEO of CP Federal Credit Union, John Christ.
Drivers, start your engines!
These 42 drivers are ready to get going, so let's take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Starting up front, Clint McComb apparently has the same amount of speed in this qualifying session as he did in the heat race in that number 54 Monster Energy Toyota Camry. He'll start on the pole in his first career Amateur Cup Series race. Donnie Moore, the Columbia winner in number 50 Fender Toyota Camry, is going to be on the outside pole. A pair of Toyotas on the front. Row number 2, Dwayne Calloway, another Toyota Pikes Peak winner, starts on the inside. Justin Rodenbach, who has placed 41st twice this season, looking for a comeback in the outside. Row number 3 has Kenny Knox, our best running non-winner in the standings right now. Jack Freeman, who's gone from 4th to 33rd over the past 5 races. Row 4 has our last race winner, Sparky the Sun Devil, alongside Taylor the Pig, also in his first career Amateur Cup Series race. In row number 5, James Smith looking to crack the top 20 in his 3rd start in this series. Here's Arvin Alonso, the Benkickles Motorsports driver, rounding out the top 10. In row number 6, we have Chris Harley, the Piggz Cliff winner and our hot seat driver for today's race. Anthony Lopez on the outside, he led the first practice session. In row number 7, we have Ray Chapman, who has a best finish of 17th. He starts 13th today. TJ Smith has only cracked the top 10 once, trying to do it from the outside of row 7. In row number 8, Robert Harrison, who only has finishes of top 10s or DNFs, starts on the inside. It's very similar to Jack Krause at the Elite Cup Series level. Noah Kim on his outside, 3 top 10s on the season. In row number 9, we have the Green Valley Elite Cup Series pole winner, Ryan Kendall, who has no top 10s on the season so far. Craig Martin has 4 top 20 finishes in a row and got a top 5 in the Elite Cup Series race at 8 Bowl. And in row number 10, Jacob Rose, is trying to battle back from some rough Colorado races on the inside. AJ Jones, with a worst finish of 16th when you exclude his DNF, rounds out the top 20. Rest of the starting order going by Connor Mays in the 21st starting spot. One of the drivers we're going to be watching tonight as he tries to contend with Kenny Knox in the 5th spot for the front part of the points lead. And that's among non-winners. Chris Harley has a pretty good handle on points lead. But the driver that doesn't have victory at the end of the regular season might be eligible for an open spot if it comes to that point. And those guys are going to be the ones that want it. There's a few other drivers in contention, but those are the top 2 guys. So Mays is going to have to come from the middle part of the field, while Knox has a pretty good spot to start on tonight. His car taking the field around for half a lap. He pulls away. Clint McComb, Donnie Moore leading the field down the front stretch, waiting for the green flag, and there it is! We're racing here at Piggz Speedome. Dwayne Calloway immediately takes advantage of some momentum as he finds his way to the front on the first lap. McComb falls back to 2nd place. We've got a battle brewing behind him as Sparky looking to the inside of the 76, but Chris Harley on the bottom side of 3 wide jumps all the way in 3rd place. Now looking to make the move on McComb for 2nd. Got a lot of winners up here, 3 in the top 5 at the moment, but it looks like Chapman's going to make the move to the inside of Sparky, make his way up in the 4th place. Now it looks like Harley's going to make the move on the 54 and get into 2nd place, going to try to chase down Dwayne Calloway. You got 2 of your previous winners. In fact, these guys won races 2 and 3, both in Colorado. And Harley has a very impressive resume to his showing so far. 3 top 5s this season, 5 races. That's 60% of the races he's finished in the top 5. 80% if you're going for top 10s. He's got another one of those in that category. A very impressive showing, and he's looking to see if he can be the first one to dip his toes into the 2-win ranks this season. Now, we've seen a lot of the winners up front, but John Gilbert's having to work his way a little bit from the back. It looks like he has a solid race car as he's making his way to the inside, the 82. Now looking for position on the 6. Trying to see if he can charge his way further up the field. Keep himself in points contention, still looking to get into an Elite Cup Series race. He's DNQ'd in several so far this season. Kenny Knox now running alongside Connor Mays. Mays has made a really good move up toward the front, although he's still outside of that top 10. Knox has really been the one that's fallen back. But Mays has made up a few positions so far, and I believe if he's able to make a move on the 20, actually he'll make a move on the 1 as well, and that should put him in the top 10. As now Knox is squeezed in between James Smith and Alonso for a 3-wide situation. Unfortunately getting out of there without incident. Not anymore. The outside pollster is kind of drifting a little bit further back as well. So he's been very unfortunate on that outside line. He's got to find his way to the inside and get around some more race cars. Let's see if he can catch back up to the 76. And now he's got Gilbert on his inside. His 31 has really made up a lot of ground. Looks like he's going to have a solid night if he can keep that up. Noah Kim's another driver we need to pay attention to, as he's got 3 top 10s in the past 4 races. A very impressive comeback, and he's just in this points battle as much as Kenny Knox and Connor Mays is. The 84 is 10 points behind Knox. Noah Kim is 19 points behind Knox, so he is very much in that conversation, and a great day right here could really boost him in the point standings. You got Robert Harrison here as well, and he is also in this top 14. Been trying to make some Elite Cup Series races, but he's also been looking really strong. He's trying to get a victory once and for all, see if he can send Gardner Racing to victory lane. But a great day here is going to be a lot down the road if they have to go to the points for determining another playoff spot. Looking at the rear of the field right now, and Chase Baldwin, unfortunately, bringing it up. 35 has really struggled so far this season. He's been last place in the full-time point standings, but he had a great day last race at his hometown track. The Massachusetts native got a top 10 at 8 Bull Super Speedway. Unfortunately, it's not clicking right now, and that team's really got to do a lot to catch up with his teammate, who's looked strong all season. I also see TJ Smith, who's kind of been around in the conversation. He's obviously still on probation, but this is the last race that applies to, so as long as he stays out of trouble, he won't face any additional penalties from the Mirage incident. Had a solid starting position, but he's now back in 30th place, trying to see what he can do to gain some ground. Austin Rogers up here in 7th place, both of the Gardner Racing teammates in the top 7. Rogers had a pretty sluggish start to the season, but he finished 5th at 8 Bull. A great run for him, his season best so far. Now 17th in points, and still got a lot of ground to make up if he wanted to be in that point battle, but still showing that he could have some speed to go around in this late part of the regular season. Meanwhile, Jack Freeman, he just really had a gigantic fall off. He started the season with a 4th place run at Columbia, and he even put himself up at a top 5 in the Elite Cup Series race at Piggz Cliff, but he's had 3 finishes of 33rd or worse in a row. He's fading a little bit back right now with the new sponsored race car. Got Nike on the hood this week. Make our way back up to Connor Mason. Kenny Knox is nowhere to be seen, as he's no longer on the leaderboard. Mays has found himself up in 6th, and actually there is Knox now. He's gotten back up to 9th place. And you see that this front section of drivers have all kind of spread out. We saw a lot of passing. Oh, we got a blow up, it looks like. Justin Roadback in the 5 car. Oh, and Chase Baldwin getting held up, and he's going to lose a lot of time there. But the 5's got some smoke coming out of the back. And there's no caution coming out as the driver's going to limp the vehicle onto pit lane. That's going to be a very disheartening finish for Roadback if he can't put it back onto the track, which it doesn't look like he will. And we see it here, and it just blows up, and we really haven't seen a lot of mechanical issues. As far as I know in the league in general, that's a very rare sight to see, but the 5 car has appeared to have a problem. We're going to diagnose that, and we'll come back and reset the field after this quick commercial break.
Whether you work on race cars or your own car, you know what it's like to work hard with your hands. There's satisfaction in getting the job done. But when you get the job done right, that's when you earn it. That's when a Busch beer never tasted better. Rewarding hard work since 1955. Here's to earning it.
Back at Piggz Speeddome, where Dwayne Calloway has amassed a gigantic lead on this very short track. Justin Roadback is going to be dropping out of the race after an apparent piston issue. Mechanical issues very rare to see on these race cars, but unfortunately it happened here today, and Roadback's going to settle for a 42nd place finish. And Calloway not too unfamiliar with great successes. He's gotten 3 top 10s to start off the season, a 10th at Columbia, a win at Pikes Peak, and a 9th at Piggz Cliff. He could be on his way to making his way back up, getting a 2nd win, getting 3 more points for the first round of the playoffs, which could play a big factor for him later on in the season, but we'll see if he can hold off the rest of the field, and so far he has. It's Chris Harley, we ride on board his helmet cam, having a very solid day today. It's not too often we see our hot seat driver get consecutive appearances, but Harley's just been having that kind of season where he is really on a hot streak. We look at Eric Van Arsdale. The veteran driver who was just outside of trying to attempt another Elite Cup Series race. He's had some solid performances this season and attempted and made a few Elite Cup Series starts this season. But unfortunately, he hasn't had the consistency to go for a championship appearance at the moment. Obviously, the Grand Detour incident overshadowed him a little bit, but looking to see what he can regain. Colin Lindsay is the other veteran driver, and he was the one that stole away that last elite spot last race. He had a respectable finish at 8th pole, and that's his season best so far, 14th. Even after avoiding that accident at the very end of that race, which was a very good dodge for the 95 driver who really needed a good finish to try to get some spark into his run, but at the moment, he's running a little bit further back in the field. He needs to pick it up a lot. Also needing to pick it up, Clint McComb. He's fallen to 27th place as it just went by on the leaderboard. The pole sitter doesn't have the speed that he had in the qualifying session and getting there in the actual qualifying for the race. It does not appear that he has gotten that speed out of his race car so far. Maybe they focus too much on qualifying trim, not enough on race. Obviously, the outside line is a big factor for how these drivers perform, but it does not look like that 54 is on its game right now. Griffin Lynn has made his way to the inside of the 54 now as he makes the pass. Currently 22nd in points, and he's been up there in points this season. He's made 2 Elite Cup Series starts, and both of them have been very, very solid. A 6th place at Columbia and a 14th at Riki Raceway, but he's fallen back after a couple rough races, and now he's going to have to make sure that he can work his way back up there if he wants any shot at contending for the championship at the end of the season. Wayne Calloway after 33 laps, a big lead for the 65 car. Can he hold the rest of the field off? Pit stops coming up soon.
Hey, Bubba, I hear you found a house.
Sure did, but I still have to get a mortgage.
Well, I have a safe and fast mortgage option for you, and it's right here on the hood of your car. All you have to do is fill out an application on clickandclose.com.
You're right. It was fast, safe, and secure. With a little bit of information and a few clicks, I was ready to close. Now comes the hard part.
What's that?
Can you help me move in?
Not a chance.
Click and Close, the official mortgage provider of NASCAR.
The lead has not gone down for Dwayne Calloway. If anything, he's extended it, as the 65 is looking for its second victory of the season in just 6 races, which is a great feat, but not unprecedented. Harry Sauer at NASCAR Fan 19 at the Elite Cup Series level, they won 2 races in very short spans of time. This could be Calloway's opportunity. Meanwhile, Taylor the Pig doing a great job in his Amateur Cup Series debut. He's up here in 4th place. Obviously, this pack has widened out a little bit, and he's not having a lot of opportunities now to pass, but for a driver that hasn't gotten any top 10s to date in the Truck Series, despite running 10th in the points, he is doing very well driving this 05 car. He's tried to field this a couple of times so far, and hasn't been able to do it up until this race. This could be a great day for the part-timer. 19 car fan also having a very solid day. In 7th place, 97 has been very close to getting into the top 14. Hasn't had that opportunity to attempt an Elite Cup Series race yet. The top 10 could really get him going pretty well in points. Anthony Lopez in 8th place, just a spot behind him. Both these drivers have a top 5 to their name. They just need the consistency. These guys are 19th and 24th in points respectively. They could be making some big gains this race just for where they are right now, but obviously they want to keep that momentum going throughout the regular season. Try to see what they can do to put themselves in the playoffs. You can see the 97 is trying to run just a slightly different line, get away from the dirty air from the car in front of him. That's the move that a lot of drivers are trying to take. We see AJ Jones trying to lower line. A very consistent driver in the number 4 machine. 4 finishes of 16th or better. 16th is his lowest finish, as we mentioned at the starting grid. That's his lowest finish without counting the Piggz Cliff DNF. A lot of good runs. Now just needs to cap it off, maybe with a victory at some point, but the consistency right now is very good for that driver. A few spots back of him, we see the 12 Vandy Coleman, who's had a very difficult season so far. Three DNFs is the most in the Amateur Cup Series at the moment. And he's really looking for a good day, and that might come today. And he has the best finish of 11th at Grand Detour, so a bit better than what he's running right now. He could have the speed, but at the moment he's not having the consistency. He's really going to need that if he wants to advance any further in the season. We saw Austin Rogers had a very solid day going. He was joining his teammate in the top 10, but now you can see a lot of cars have gotten past the 44 since we highlighted him at the early stage of the race. You can tell he's trapped on that outside line, and that's really what's putting a lot of these guys farther back than where they started or where they made their ground up. So now he's got the 80 car on his quarter panel. Joey Radcliffe looks like he had an opportunity to get his way into the top 14 at 8 Bull, but then that freak accident at the very end sent him into the pit lane wall. He ended up dropping out of the race. He couldn't even get to the finish of it. Ended up finishing 30th place, dropped him further in the standings. Now he's trying to find some better luck, but it looks like he's fallen a little bit further back, as well as John Gilbert. Didn't notice that he was that far back either, as he had been making up ground after a not so great starting spot. It looked like he fell right back to where he was. I'm looking at Jacob Rose, who had a good start to the season, but kind of had some struggling starts at the Colorado tracks, has picked it back up. Now he's trying to see if he can get some consistency under the RPT7 namesake, which obviously put Stuart Gradden in the playoffs. Jack Porkins on a bit of a warm streak, we can call it. And we now see that Taylor the Pig is making his way into pit lane, and this is scheduled. We're going to see some green flag pit stops here about at the 2/3 stage of the race. Just over 25 laps to go in this one. Dwayne Calloway is going to relinquish the lead and make his way down. Looks like he might have gotten across the line, but 19 car fan stays out for an extra lap. And he's not alone. And it's not surprising to see on these short tracks that the guys that are driving will try to take a little bit different strategies. Longer tracks, obviously, drivers are probably going to come all at once, but on these shorter tracks, a little strategy will play a big factor. Grand Detour, we saw guys try to take their old tires way longer than the rest of the field did, and it actually worked out well for a few of them. This time they're all coming down around at the same time. No one's trying to play any strategy today. As the leader Calloway comes in, see Taylor the Pig, Sparky come and exit pit lane. It's going to be a 4-tire stop for the 65 car. He's going to be on his way, and Clint McComb comes in front, and they make contact, and now the 65 getting held up as Chris Harley makes his way around, and so does a bunch of cars as the 54 is now stalled, and the 65 finally gets around, but that is huge for the leader coming into the pit stops. He has now lost the lead as several cars have made his way around him. And Chris Harley has taken advantage. 49 now looking at his front as he's going to see several cars coming off pit lane as they run their different strategies, but a huge heartbreak for the 65. Clint McComb had fallen so far back in the field that by the time he got to his pit stall, the 65 was already ready to get out of there. That's a crazy scenario for Dwayne Calloway looking for his second career win, at least in this series. But now it could be the opportunity for Chris Harley to get his second win. And Calloway lost a ton of spots on that ordeal. He's not even on the leaderboard anymore. We see Harrison made his way in the second, Mays in the third. A few names have scattered all around, but Calloway has fallen out of the top 10. And if I'm going based on the drivers that are just ahead of him, I believe he's in 11th place, but A huge opportunity just opened up for Chris Harley. He could be the first repeat winner of the Amateur Cup Series season. We'll find out after this quick commercial break.
Hi, I'm Kyle Bush, and this is the new NOS Rowdy drink. It tastes like victory.
Yes, victory, but I'm also getting subtle hints of pole positions. And checkered flags, and squealing tires, and steering wheels, and pavement, and pumping pistons and chassis, and...
Just tastes like victory. Why are you still here? Get rowdy.
I don't believe that Chris Harley thought he was going to take the lead the way that he did, but any opportunity is one that the 49 is going to take, as he is now the leader of the race at Piggz Speedome. Just under 20 laps to go, and now the 49's trying to navigate the traffic and see what he can do to fend off the rest of the field and get his second victory of the season. He got it at race number 3 at Piggz Cliff. We'll see if he can get it in race number 6, and if he's going by intervals, maybe he'll get one at race number 9. Austin Rogers, we saw that he was kind of struggling further back in the field. It looks like at this point he's been lapped, as the 49 has already made his way around the 44. And Rogers is definitely not on the leaderboard. Meanwhile, it looks like Colin Lindsay has gotten a solid jump in the grid. Not great. Obviously, great would be up there in the top 10, but compared to where he was, which was really running around the back of the field for most of the race, it seems like he's gotten around a few cars since that pit stop occurred. You actually see the leaderboard cycle right here. He's actually in 22nd place. Meanwhile, Clint McComb, he's back on the track, but obviously that stalling out really cost him. He is 4 laps down at the moment in his first career Amateur Cup Series race. Got the pole, and it's gone to a complete disaster. I think he's feeling a little bit fortunate that Roadback had that mechanical issue. He could have been in last place at this point. Now he's just trying to wheel it around and see if anyone else is going to have problems, that he's going to get a little bit of redemption in the grid, but definitely not going to win this race today. Jay Jefferson having a solid day up here in the top 10. Currently running 9th place, just behind Lopez in front of 19 Car Fan. He could be on pace for his first top 10 today, as long as he can keep it going for these next few laps. Now, I think a lot of the reason why we're seeing a little bit of shuffling is that some teams try to shortcut their fuel as close to the end as possible. They know that they're not going to have overtime rules in this format. They are trying to cut their fuel as close to the end of the race as they can. We're hearing that it might not be enough for some teams. It's going to be a very interesting situation to watch if these guys can't make it to the end. Meanwhile, we look on the onboard of Robert Harrison. Chris Harley getting caught up in that traffic, but he's getting it behind him and putting it in front of Harrison. This is going to be Harley's chance to pull away with just around 10 laps to go in this race. Meanwhile, Kenny Knox is kind of falling off at this point. He is not going to have a great day. Meanwhile, Connor May's up there in 3rd place. He is going to gain a lot of ground on Knox, potentially pass him up. He's going to take the spot that could be opened up thanks to Chris Harley if he's able to grab the victory today. On board, Donnie Moore, who's kind of fallen mid-pack after starting 2nd place. He's around a lot of his teammates right now. He's got Shane Borden in front of him. I believe he's got Thomas behind him. Western Motorsports all kind of in the same place right now. Moore's just the one that knows that he's got the playoff spot. He wants to help his teammates get in there as well, but the spots are closing up fast. Meanwhile, Al Calloway is just behind Dwayne Calloway. And obviously, both these guys trying to work toward getting into the playoffs. Dwayne has, Al has not. He led the final practice, but that speed has not helped him get to the front so far. Trying to see if he can salvage a top 10 run, he's going to have to pass a few cars along the way. You see Chris Harley is still trying to navigate the lap traffic. He's on the outside lane, which means a few guys are getting to the inside of him and getting their laps back, maybe in case a late caution comes out, but they're running out of laps to actually get a restart at this point. It's helping Robert Harrison catch up just a little bit, and Connor Mace is actually pretty close to 91. Maybe trying to make a move for second place, gain another point. But the 49 only has 5 more laps to go until he claims his second victory. And there's 84 right now. We talked about how he's going to make up a lot of points at the moment based on where Knox is running. He's trying to run a little bit higher, but that's not exactly the groove I would expect someone that wants to make a competitive move to make. You'd want to be lower on the racetrack, but sometimes these drivers are just going to run the groove that feels most comfortable to them. Meanwhile, 19-car fan making a move on Lopez, that's for 9th place. Jefferson got around the 75. As he's starting to slip just a little bit, but hopefully can still salvage a top 10. Al's caught back up to his brother. And we've got Sparky down on pit lane. He was running 4th place. And this is the gas troubles that we were talking about. These guys tried to shortcut their pit strategy just a little bit. And that's going to bring several of them down. Colin Lindsay as well. He gained a lot of spots. But now he's going to lose them all again because he didn't get enough fuel in the tank. And Dwayne Calloway is down after his pit road problems. He is not going to make it. Hunter Cox also down behind him. I believe several other drivers as well, but Chris Harley's going to take the white flag here. Despite all those issues, it looks like the 49 is going to keep the pace. He got the tank filled, and he got a lucky break with Calloway not filling up the tank. Those problems didn't matter. The 49 is going to find victory lane anyway. Checkered flag down for the 49 of Chris Harley. And that is his second victory of the season. A huge victory for him. And he's going to go celebrate with his team. They are setting themselves up for a great playoffs. And this is going to be a very fun one to watch at the end of this season. So we take a look at our final results, which got a little topsy-turvy after that pit road confusion. A great day for top-heavy drivers. Robert Harrison, Connor Mays, AJ Jones, Noah Kim, all guys that have gotten up there in points. Really solid days, ending up in the top 5. A great Amateur Cup Series debut for Taylor the Pig. For guys that were just outside the cut line, 19-car fan, Jay Jefferson, Anthony Lopez. They had very solid days. Top 10 runs for them, as well as Al Calloway, who kind of pointed his way in there after his brother had trouble. A great day also for contender Craig Martin. You had 3 Western Motorsport drivers there in a row, 13 through 15. And also great days by drivers that are far back in standings, Ray Chapman and Andy Coleman. Fantastic days by them, even if it didn't result in the top 10. If you look a little bit further back, and it was disappointing for drivers like Austin Rogers, who you saw in the top 10 earlier in the race and fell all the way back to 28th. John Gilbert looked like he had fought his way up toward the front, ends up in 30th place. And then you see all the guys that are 2 laps down or more that ended up taking late pit stops. That includes Dwayne Calloway, Hunter Cox, Kenny Knox. Didn't even see him. He had to make another pit stop. Griffin Lynn, Sparky the Sun Devil, Colin Lindsay, Jack Freeman. All troubles late in the race with non-confidence in their fuel game. Clint McComb would end up 4 laps down in his debut after starting on the pole. Stalled out with the contact on pit lane with Dwayne Calloway. Justin Rodeback. Mechanical issue puts him out of the race. Now look at how the standings play out, and Chris Harley is getting out to a gigantic lead now as he has acquired his second win after he was already leading in the point standings. Connor Mace made the big jump in the second place, passing up Kenny Knox. Noah Kim did the same. Robert Harrison, AJ Jones following just behind Knox. In fact, Harrison's actually tied with Knox in terms of points. But those guys that finished well today really reaped the benefits, and they are now in the top 10 in points. 19-car fan made his jump into the top 14. Jake Thomas also found his way back into it as well. Jacob Rose just on the outside. Sparky's about to follow his way out of it, despite having a win this season. That's because of his late faltering strategy on pit lane. Had to take it back down for some fuel. A huge drop for Colin Lindsay, who had been 15th coming into this race. He falls all the way back to 27th, and he's going to have a lot of ground to make up to try to keep himself in contention this season. And the last place run by Justin Roback is going to stick him at the back of the full-timer standings. Chase Baldwin just a point ahead of him, but he's fortunate no longer to be in that position. Jack Freeman, also very terrible day for him, and he is faltering even further. After having a 4th place run at the beginning of the season, he is really fallen back to the depths of this standing chart. Now we get to take a look at the playoff picture now that we're at the halfway point of the regular season. Connor Mays gets his name in green as he has the open spot made by Chris Hawley for having the double victory. Obviously this could change. Someone else could pass up Mays. Another spot could open up by a repeat winner or someone that's ineligible. We'll have to see, but there's obviously 6 races left to go. TJ Smith sits on the cutoff line, 2 points ahead of 19 car fan. That can also change if a winner comes from beyond that cutoff line. We take a look at the team standings, and Jones Smith Racing jumps to the top of that board. AJ Jones, the biggest contributor to that with his 4th place finish. TJ Smith had an okay day, but not one that was stellar. Meanwhile, Ramco Motorsports, who had held that lead, had an awful day with their 2 drivers that made the race in McComb and Sparky. They fall all the way back to 5th after getting a collective 4.5 points in this race. But as team standings go, this is the tightest competition. The biggest depth in terms of teams, but also very close together. 6 points separating the top 2, 16 points separating the top 6. We'll have to see how this progresses throughout the season. As for next race, the top 14 are the ones that are making it to Calder Park. Going to compete and try to qualify for the Elite Cup Series race. We take a look at the numbers that those drivers will be running. And a little bit different for Dwayne Calloway. He's going to be piloting the number 27 at Calder Park as 3 goes to Noah Kim. AJ Jones in the number 14. We'll see TJ Smith try to compete in the number 30 for the first time this season. 19 car fan taking over to number 19. That's going to do it from Piggz Speed Dome. A repeat winner for the first time this season. It goes to Chris Harley. We'll see him in the playoffs for sure. But will he be able to go for another victory? We'll find out at Van Zant. That'll be our next Amateur Cup Series broadcast. But Calder Park, the Elite Cup Series competition coming up very soon. Be sure to stay tuned for that, and we will see you all next time.